Okay, and we are live with Musicians and Makers podcast dedicated to interviewing and promoting artists across a broad spectrum of genres and mediums. Today we are here with ClaraKhay Johnson, as well as my co-host, Steve.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, thanks for joining us. So ClaraKhay Johnson, you're an interdisciplinary artist, and we can also find your work at clarifications.com. I'm truly blown away by the extent of your work. I really want to take this slow so we don't miss anything. When did you start creating art?
Ever since I was a little girl. I just didn't know, that it was special because it's something I've always been able to do. So it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I realized that that's what I was born to do. It's cliche, but it's true.
Mm-hmm. So you grew up in Rochester, New York?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 8 children. So my two of my eldest brothers and sisters have a birthday today. They're 62.
Nice. Happy birthdays.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jocelyn Jeffrey.
What was it like growing up with such a large family and being the youngest?
Well, I figured it out. I've been able to put it into words. I had 9 parents. Because they're all considerably older than me. So,
did they have any artistic abilities as well?
Quite a few of them do. And it's natural. It's one of my brothers can draw. He's an engineer. My sister, she's an artist, and she's more disciplined than I am. Very meticulous. I tend to be a bit more spontaneous, but none of them pursue their art. None of them do it actively. It's one of those things that they know they can do, and it's just kind of over there.
When did you decide to move to North Carolina?
In 1995.
Mm-hmm. So
my senior year in high school. I won't tell you the year, but try not to let you date me too much. So I remember walking to school in the winter, and, this is senior year. So I've been doing this 4 years, right? And I'm like, man, and the thought just hit me. I don't have to live here. So a few years later, I moved down south, and my father is from Wendell, North Carolina. So I've been coming down here every year since I was this big. So it was just a natural transition.
Yeah, I've had so many friends tell me that I should be looking into moving to Asheville area or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a great area. It's very artsy and cultural and hippie and, laid back and, people are people. They're, more human there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And not the New England chip on the shoulder like up here.
Yes, exactly.
What's the local art scene like in Raleigh?
Well, this year has been crazy, of course, right? Mm-hmm. I've not really been very entrenched in Raleigh right now because the last couple of years I've been traveling. So I've been kind of in and out and maybe doing stuff in other states and other countries and things like that. But Raleigh, so I've been doing art actively for about 10 years. And over the 10 years, it has really grown a lot. Durham, North Carolina is about 25 miles west of Raleigh. And It's a little bit more on the artsy side, like more cultural, more hip, urban. Raleigh is very conservative, but they do support and appreciate art. It's just not like some cities where it's ingrained in everything that occurs in the city. Like some cities that I've lived in, they just really embrace it. Like they love the artists and they support the artists, and art is included in every aspect of the city. Like Raleigh has no personality. And I know if people from Raleigh hear this, they're going to be mad, but they can only admit it's true. It doesn't have its own personality, right? So Durham they tout themselves as the Bull City. Like it's changed a lot. It's rugged, but they own it, right? They own that rugged, and Raleigh's kind of what I call white bread,
To speak to traveling, you definitely have done quite a bit of that. So you had an art residency in France in 2018?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Could you tell us a little more about that?
Yes. Yep. So it's a little sleepy. It was in a little dormant town, a dormant village called Marnay. Marnay-sur-Seine. So it was on the river, Sur-Seine. I think it had like 250, maybe 300 residents. Not artists, but residents. I shared a house with some other international artists, some from Italy, some from Russia. There was an American there. Yeah, it was really interesting. So they call it a dormant village because there's no commerce, right? There's you got to go to the next town to get wine, And that was really interesting. So the whole premise of that particular residence was eugenics, right? So they wanted to talk about, evolution and things like this. I was more interested in like the European landscape because it seems really well preserved. And they don't tend to destroy the natural resources to create, infrastructure. So I was more taken by that aspect than, anything else that I could draw from because I'm here, mm-hmm. I'm in my head a lot. So, but yeah, it was really interesting. I got to go to Paris several times and that was magical. I got to spend about 6 weeks in Spain before I went to France, and Spain was just absolutely, you gotta go. It's so beautiful. But yeah, Paris was good too.
Yeah, I toured in Germany and Poland last year in like a music group. And we were in the hopes of doing France and Spain this upcoming year. And obviously everything's kind of getting pushed back and crazy. But I know what you mean by the landscape. Even in Germany, like you're traveling on the highways and they have like all these beautiful like small yellow flowers everywhere, which I believe they make like some type of, I think it's like canola oil or something is produced from that. And they're just everywhere. It's so beautiful, and like, I think about driving around here, we're in Rhode Island, like pretty close to New York. You know what our highways look like, like you go through Jersey and it's just like a million exits going in every direction, like.
Right. Well, I got to drive a friend that I met. I made a friend in France and she decided to move to Berlin. And so she needed a driver because she didn't know how to drive, manual. So I'd go back to Germany just to drive.
Wow. Yeah.
Just to drive. That's it. Yeah. Just to drive.
I could imagine there must have been a big language barrier too in such like a small resident area. Was that hard to like translate and to communicate with everyone?
Well, in the village, there is, believe it or not, a lot of English speaking people there. And the English speaking people seem to like all be on like the same strip of, of the row or the side of the village. Like the ones who only spoke French, they didn't really integrate a lot. But because, some kind of political thing, right? I don't know. But yeah, I didn't speak French. I could speak Spanish a little bit, but much, I can speak French much less than Spanish. So that, and they don't, it's true. They don't like it if you don't speak French. right? It's a real insult to them. Like, so I was just mere seeing all over the place. But I managed, but when it was the barrier was there, it was really hard. At least in Spain, they tried to work with you. And I could, and a lot of Spanish words sound English, right? So I could kind of put an O or an A on the end of it. And
they would know what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah. So that was cool.
I had no chance in Germany. I remember, I think entrance and exit was like Aschfahr and Einfahr, and forget it.
Forget about it.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a whole different animal there.
So you also were part of a group exhibit in South Africa in 2019. That was with a group. Was it called Artlet?
Yes.
Yes. What is Artlet?
Well, it's art and literature, so visual art and literary art. So it's marrying the two. So Johari Taryn was curator. So she had reason to go to South Africa many, many years ago. So she had been going back and forth, and she likes to write and she likes books and stuff. So, but she also likes the visual art. So she's produced magazines. So she just came up with this brainchild to have an exhibit that features African writers with some artists from the Northern Cape of South Africa and Black American artists. So we did the exhibit in William Humphreys Museum in Kimberley, South Africa. And the hope was to bring it over here. So the hope was to bring the South African artists to the U.S. and feature U.S. artists, right? And then to take it all over the world. But that remains to be seen. So, but it was really, really cool. A lot of different interpretations. So there was a set number of literature that we were to interpret. I think I did about four pieces, but several pieces for one story. So stories and poems.
What was your medium for those pieces?
I work with a lot of different mediums. There was, I used two female mannequins, and I did a wire sculpture on them because I love trees. And so they have wire sculpted trees. So if you see that guitar back there with the wire sculpture, I kind of did the same. So I painted the mannequin and I layered with paper and fabric and paint. And, then I build like a structure, and then I just kind of, manipulate the wire and string the beads and twist them up and make it look, something like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
I also did a piece that dedicated to Nelson Mandela, and I titled it "The Child Isn't Dead" because it talked about a little boy that was killed on the street. One of the lines in the poem was "The child is not dead." So, Nelson Mandela, I feel like his spirit is going to live forever, right? And so for that one, I took strips of paper that tore wet and rolled them, just hand rolled all these pieces of paper and, just laid it down. And I used probably 15 different mediums from tiger's eye to metal to fabric, leather, paper. I usually achieve, what I set out to. I don't know what it's going to be when I start, but I have an idea, a little idea.
I can imagine too, a piece like that you could make here in the United States, but to do it there in South Africa and just to just be in that moment, that must have just made it so much more special.
Well, that piece was made here, but I did make a piece when I was there. The curator shipped all of the art over, right? So she shipped all of the art over and she shipped all of it back. So I'm happy to say I have it. I have 95% of it in my possession. She still has one piece. I just came back from California last week. So, yeah, no, it was good. I collaborated with the artists over there, made some longtime friends, really talented, resourceful, humble, really humble artists there. So it was really nice. It was a great experience. And I was on the female in the show, by the way.
Oh, that's awesome too. Yeah, absolutely. So you just came back from California. Was that for your solo exhibit?
Yes, which didn't happen. So let's not talk about it.
That was my next question. How did that go?
That.
Oh.
Well, I think everything happens for a reason, right? So my client flew me out to do a commission. And so we were in the process of doing that and coordinating the exhibit, and things just went awry. But I was able to get all of my artwork home. So I didn't lose a thing.
That's good.
Was this the Pac-Man commission?
No, that's here in Raleigh.
Okay.
That's a mural. That's on a 20-foot long wall. So
are you still working on that now?
Yeah, I had to take a break though.
Yeah.
All those dots are driving me crazy.
I bet. How many hours are you into it already?
About 30. About 30 hours. Yeah. So, and it's funny because, I'm abstract, and that is so literal. It's so, mathematic maybe, but I don't think that way. So it was really interesting. Like I'd leave and then I'd think about it like, oh, I could have did that better, So, as far as the measurements and, the number of layers and how it was a learn as you go. If he had asked for an abstract, I probably would have been done, halfway through that amount of time. So it's all a learning experience.
Yeah. Is that your first piece like that? Like a video game piece or like a large, like...
No, not my first large mural, but it is my first time trying to do something on that scale with that amount of precision. And it's missing a lot of precision, believe me. But it requires a lot of precision, which that's not my approach in most things that I do. I mean, not even just in art. Like, when I cook, I don't taste my food. It's just this innate thing. So when I go back to finish it, it'll probably take me less time because this time I will just take 2 lines across and then measure each dot as opposed to trying to measure each dot and then make sure the lines are straight. And I don't know if I'll do it again.
Yeah, I would absolutely lose my mind. Myself, I'm a rhythm guitarist, and the difference between like a rhythm guitarist and a lead is like a lead takes that time, constructs like every little thing they want to do, and I'm just like I'm feeling whatever someone's doing, and we're just going to move in that direction. And can I do it the same 100 times? Probably not. And do I want to? No, definitely not. Yeah,
that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. But, it's interesting. Like in 2015, I worked with an orchestra and they commissioned me to do some artwork using violins. And they invited me to their practice sessions. And so the conductor is a female. And I had no idea there was so much math and science in the orchestra. And this woman was pitch perfect. Like she would know which section of the orchestra was off, right? And she'd have everybody in that section play, and then she'd point out the one who didn't tune their violin or didn't tune I'm like, it blew my mind.
Oh, yeah. I played with people like that. I played with someone who went to a music college, and we all have these fancy tuning pedals to tune our electric guitars and get them all perfect. And he would just sit there and just tune everyone's guitar for them in less time than it took me to follow that. It's incredible. It is. It's such a talent.
Gift. It's a gift.
So you did a TED Talk back in 2016. I believe it was published in 2018, right?
Yes. Yes.
And your topic was, what is ethnic art? I had a chance to listen to that. I actually listened to it a couple times today. What really stood out to me was that you talked about yourself and just a description of yourself, and you said that a good description is inclusion, non-restriction, and acceptance of all things and all people. And that's kind of the cornerstone of who you are. To tell you a little about myself, I work in a nonprofit art organization. We're community building. We house artists. We have a venue and a gallery that's for everyone. You know, you don't have to be this big known artist to do so. And you know, one of our slogans is unjuried, uncensored, all ages, all the time. And I'll tell you, when you said that just it struck right out to me, and I just love to hear what you have to say to that.
So the title, what is ethnic art? So I went back and forth with the curator about, because obviously I'm a Black woman, right? So it's curious to some people why I don't do Black art. But what is Black art? Like, really? So I don't look at the world in that way. I don't see beauty, you know, like, I think there's just too many isms in the world, right? So everybody wants to label this and label that, and you know, because I get it, it makes sense, right? We agree to call something a thing, and that therefore that's what it is, and we agree that that's what it means, and that's what it is. But I think that if more people could open their minds a little bit, you know, and not be in the side of right, you know, just try to be a little more open to different concepts, different ways of thinking, not feeling that because someone doesn't agree with your philosophy, your lifestyle, what you do, you know, what you look like, you know, that's their right. And we all get that right. So I get the right to create the art that I want to create. No one's going to tell me what to create. If you like it, like I said in the TED Talk, great. If you don't, great. I don't care. I do not care. I really don't care. There's so much in our face now. Like that was 4 years ago, right? So now 4 years moving forward, it seems to be even more entrenched, or this just picking a side, and there is no side, right? Because everyone doesn't believe in the creator, but if you believe in the creator and he picked a side or she picked a side, what side are they going to pick? I mean, if they created all things, right? If God or creator, I think of God as a man and a woman, just for the record. That's what I'm saying, they or he or she, right? So then what's wrong? I come to understand that I'm a little different, right? So I've always been a rebel. I don't like rules. I follow them if I have to. If I don't have to, I don't follow them. But I don't break rules either. But it's my own philosophy. But you only get one life, right? So for a while I was in corporate and, you know, doing very well. And then my dad passed, right? So that was like the closest person in my life. I lost grandparents, but I'm not, you know, like he and my dad, my brothers and sisters, nieces and nephews. That's my, you know, but when he passed away, like I've never really been affected by death, right? I'd be a little sad for everybody else too, but it never like threw me for a loop. And it really did, his passing didn't do that. It was just like a bucket of ice cold water got thrown on me. It's like, shoot, Clara. And my dad was a great, great man. He had a lot of influence in the community and things like this. And it's no more. Now it's no more. There is no more of that soul or that person who was here to do whatever they wanted to do. However, you know, within the realm of his understanding and belief and means, right? But when you're gone, you're done. Like it's just, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but while you're here, you know, do as much as you can to express what's in here. Mm-hmm. And I think that is like something that, because we're so in the rat race, right? We're chasing a career, we're chasing money, we're chasing relationships, we're chasing this, you know, you want to find your soulmate. Well, I heard a teacher say, mate with your soul, like really get to know, you know, who you are, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all the same. We all got here the same way, and ain't none of us getting out of here alive. So if you get the chance, right, when you're, however, or if you get to see your last days, right? And you know it's your last days. How are you going to look back on your life? Like, I could do more, but right now I'm doing sorry. But no, I could do more. Like, I try to be the person I want people to see, like that old cliche. But it's just that simple. It's really not that hard. It's really not that hard. But if your focus is such on the outside, then it becomes a challenge, right? And then that's where you get your mental illness and your anxiety and depression and,
Yeah. I've lost my father as well, and he had some beautiful, beautiful qualities. And I think about the way you're saying, like, this piece of the community was missing. And I've always felt that, there's so much that I could do to kind of like, there's people in my life who will never meet him. And there's so much that I could do to take those good qualities and make that part of myself and move forward with that and use that as my expression instead of that being just such like a sad thing. And why not? That's where we come from. That's our culture, right? That's what we should be expressing and promoting. And we just continue to build that. And that's beautiful for the next generations to come. And I do have to say to the TED Talk, you got me.
I think it's changing, but just not, it's changing slowly and not as celebratedly. Right? It's a little covert or under the surface, right? It's not, when I hear the news, I get so upset when I walk into a room and the news is on. I literally get upset. Like,
yeah.
There's nothing good on it.
Oh, I gotta say, you got me in that TED Talk too. In the beginning, when you show all those pieces of art and I tried to figure out like where these people came from and what their race was, I think I got like almost every single one wrong.
Exactly. Exactly. But because I wouldn't have guessed, I would not have guessed if I didn't know. But that's the ownership that we get if you do what's classified as Black art with the depictions of Black culture. You assume automatically that a Black person or a person of color did it, and then when you find out it's not, then Black people are offended, and the artist is lauded by the mainstream, right? And it's a serious, and then. And then when you see artwork that has no ethnic depiction, you automatically assume that a white person did it, right? Or not anyone of any ethnicity. If there's no ethnicity tied to it, then the default is going to be towards the mainstream, which is white, which isn't fair. But that's just the way it is. So, I'm not going to change what I do, but.
Yeah, no, I think we're all hopefully we're all trying to work towards just breaking down some of these racial barriers and these isms and just realizing that, we live in we live in capitalism, right? That is inherently racist. That's what we're dealing with. And the sooner that we can realize that system and decide to take it on ourselves, to just encourage each other to, celebrate our lives, then that's where we're going to find the beauty. And then you'll have some beautiful artwork come out of that and we can all love and appreciate it.
Right. Exactly. And that's how you get to heaven.
There we go. So you do have a pretty rich family background in the arts as well. Your grandfather, he created the mascot for Johnson C. Smith University, the Golden Bull.
Yes. He did that in 1917.
Wow. Do you know how he got that opportunity?
I don't know a lot about my grandfather. I only met him once. This year was my sisters and I were planning a road trip to his hometown, Birmingham, Alabama, and we were going to do some digging. And of course, that didn't happen. But all I know is that, my eldest brother tells me he was a Republican, right? So he was very affluent. Like, I know my great grandfather, his father was a porter, right? So, and then for my grandfather to be able to go to college and graduate gives me an idea that they were somehow, a little affluent, maybe. but that's as much as I can gather. I know that the mascot, they first wanted to call it the Golden Biddy.
Oh.
I don't know. So
I wonder what the meaning was back then for that.
Yeah, that was in 1970. So he was born in 1893. So he was old when he had my mom. Mm-hmm. And then my mom was old when she had me. But then I come to realize recently that my dad's mom was a bit of a creative too. So like I've been doing a lot of work with mixed media, and there's this rooster that's in her living room that's been in there since I was a little girl. I just thought they bought that thing. Like it just, I don't know. And then I just find out like 40 some years later that she did it. And so I'm kind of like with the artwork that I'm doing, like I never really connected with her in that way, but maybe somehow she's kind of.
There's some sort of connection.
Yeah. I don't want to say channel, but I mean, I guess you kind of draw on things, right? And you don't really realize where the influence is coming from. Because I don't study art, right? So I don't really look at a lot of different artwork or try to emulate artwork that I've seen. I try to create what I think is exciting and beautiful and challenging. So that's why I learned the term interdisciplinary, because I don't just paint. I don't just, I make bowls and I do wire sculptures and murals, and I work with different materials, and I just can't, I won't say focus. I just refuse to not honor the other ideas. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. You just recently started creating your own line of apparel, right?
Yes. That, I'm still working on that because I don't tend to do things the way other people do. So, my idea of my apparel is going to be, dynamic, and it's going to be expensive. I'm going to put a lot into, a lot of thought into it. I just don't want to, put something out there that's already been seen. I want it to be, dynamic and beautiful and eye-catching. But I'm finding that it's a little more expensive to create those pieces than I had imagined. So I'm still managing that one. So, yeah.
You've had some popularity with messy boots, I believe you call them.
Yes. So I take boots that people, they may not love them anymore. Maybe the heel is run down, or, they just don't match anything. So I'll just take them and get different fabrics, different fabric patterns, but it's so messy, but it comes together, right? So they're the same, almost the same identical pattern on each side, just mirrored, but it's different pieces of fabric, different patterns, and denim. Yeah, so denim and the different fabrics, yeah.
So these are all like repurposed items?
Repurposed, one-of-a-kind, custom. Yeah, I don't create them and hold them, because I want people to give me shoes that they've worn, right? So they know that they're going to fit, because you're not getting a refund. So yeah, and then it goes into your inventory and stuff like that. But yeah, it's all fun.
So this is really custom then. They're like sending you something that they already own, so you can like create it. Do they have like kind of a say in what material you're adding to, or has anyone like brought you something special they wanted you to add to the mix?
Yes, that and colors, right? So I try to not use too many colors, but I have an eye for color. Like I really have a good grasp on bringing colors together. So, but I try not to make it too far. Like I would put polka dots with stripes, but I might not put zigzags with polka dots. I don't know. It's just a way that colors go together. Like if you think about the Crayola box, the 64 colors in the Crayola box, but you actually can create more than the 64 colors. But it's just that whole concept, right? You got a warm tone goes with a cool tone or vice versa. It just depends on how it works and what fabrics I have or if I have to go shopping.
Fair enough. I'm going to sort of put you on the spot. If you had to choose one piece that's your favorite that you've done, what would it be?
One of my favorite pieces is Harmony's Hope. It's on my website. I did that for Sing for the Cure. And it's, I would call it a monochromatic piece. So it's purples, lavenders, pinks, hot pinks. And then it's actually a tree. If you looked at it, the bottom is a tree trunk, but it's got the piano keys going up. So they did the concert Sing for the Cure. I think that was in 2011. And so they commissioned me for that piece. And then like the branches are the ribbons of the breast cancer logo. And so that's one of the first pieces I ever really drew before I started it out. And I really don't paint or create something with a purpose, right? Like it's all just beauty, but I was able to actually incorporate the whole vein of what they were doing because I put sheet music in it and it's funny because I didn't intentionally put there, but if they point them out to me, I can concede. Okay, I can see that. So, and part of it, one of my friends said, Claire, it looks like a breast is in the painting. Like that looks like a breast to me. And I'm like, no. And I said, dang. I didn't mean it, but it came together so beautifully. It's it's my mom's favorite piece too. So I guess that might be one of the reasons why it's one of mine.
Yeah. Is there any style of art that you really haven't pursued that you'd like to?
I would like to sculpt, but I can't. And I would love to dance, but I can't.
Me neither. Don't feel bad.
Like I am very enthralled and impressed, just blown away by performing artists and the control they have over their body and how they can stretch and just fly up in the air and and then like the even urban dancers, like I can't do that. I can get on. I'll get on the dance floor, but I really can't dance. It was a bored. And so, yeah, and then sculpting. I have a really good friend. She's self-trained too, and she does beautiful portrait sculpture. And I tried to throw clay, right, to make some pottery. And that's hard too. There's a lot of physics in that. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna do what I do. But yeah, those two things I'm very impressed by. I'm impressed by art that when I look at it, I think I can't do it. Right. So if I see someone's painting or artwork and I can kind of look at it and see what they did, or I think I can recreate it, I'm not as impressed. So yeah.
I think I made like one pinch pot in my life, and it probably blew up in the kiln, So
there's room for everybody.
Sure.
So when someone asks you, and I know this is hard, when someone asks you what type of art do you make, what do you say? Well,
like I used to say mixed media because it's not just in one dimension or one surface. So when I went to France, I learned interdisciplinary. So there was an artist, professor who taught at the University of Alabama, and her daughter came. And so I'll tell them interdisciplinary, and then I'll, expound on that, that I do bowls and I work with different mediums. I do wire sculptures. That's been the struggle, Joshua. That's been the struggle in more ways than I can explain. Because I don't have a way to, say the word. Like if I was a portrait artist, then people immediately get that. If I did abstract, people, they might not be able to see it, but they understand what abstract is, but I'm not just an abstract artist. So that's been like even trying to create a logo, right? I've been over the years just playing around, but how do I make a logo? I think I come up with it. 10 years later, I think I've come up with it. So that's in the works. An official logo.
Good things take time.
Yeah, 10 years. That's a good run. Yeah. So why do you make art?
Because that's who I am. It's become who I am. Like, I'm good at a lot of different things. But I just let it envelop me, so it's really what I have to do. I'll see a rock or a tree or I don't know, I'll just see something and then it's like sparks just things just start firing off like, oh, I could do this with that and I could do this with that, and I have to get it out. I just literally have to try to fashion this thing of what I see and see if it's going to meet, what I expect to see, which I don't see the whole thing, but I just know, I have some idea. And it's only because I know, because a lot of people have talents, right, that they don't know they have. If I didn't know that, I had the talent in this way, then I wouldn't be disrespecting it or disregarding it. But since I know I have it, I have to do it. And and I really wish more people would spend a little time, finding that thing, and they'll find it if they just try different stuff, right? So I always knew I could do art, but I always knew I was good in corporate too, and getting those benefits and getting the money. But ultimately, I had to make a choice because my job was no longer pleasurable. Life was getting harder only because I didn't want to be there. I wanted to be in front of some art. So, but I understand, everyone doesn't get that opportunity, right? So I kind of like demanded of myself that I do this, like unapologetically. Now, has it been easy? But has it been fun? Yep. So,
Steve, do you have any questions?
Where's the one place that you want to travel to do art that you haven't been to yet?
I really wanted my trip to Europe, my first country to be to Italy. So Tuscany, I almost made it there on a residency a few years prior, but it didn't happen. And then the other country I'd like to go to is Ghana or Senegal to do some art. Like, I really think I would benefit from, Senegal and Ghana just because their art is so innate and raw and, tribal and soulful. And, I think there's, a dimension or another level that I haven't tapped, I think there's a lot more, that I could pull out, but Italy is just beautiful and Spain is beautiful. I love landscapes and, trees and oceans and mountains and all of that. So yeah, those three.
Italy is so beautiful. I'll tell you, when I toured Europe, I toured with an Italian band, and it really took me a long time to get used to their speed. We were late to every show. They had to stop for their coffee every 2 or 3 hours. It was just like they lived this very just relaxed life. And coming from New England, I'm just like, I was supposed to be there 4 hours ago. You know what I mean? It's just, but they don't stress it at all. They're loving every minute of it, It's incredible, but it was something I really had to get used to.
Yeah, I heard it put like this about Europeans. I mean, maybe not all countries in Europe, but definitely Spain, and I can imagine Italy, maybe even France too. If you were to ask, them what they do, they'll tell you what they love to do, what they love to eat, where they love to go. They won't tell you about their job first, right? Their job is just to support what they love to do. Like my last night at the residency, I'm trying to pack and I didn't want to make a big fuss, but they find any excuse to get together, any excuse to sit around and drink some wine and eat some food. And so the mayor's daughter, she says, Clara, we should celebrate your life. I was like, oh, it's not necessary. She says, it doesn't have to be necessary. Yeah. It's going to be fun. I'm like, okay. So yeah, that's yeah, they take care of their business, but they're not working. They're not working, 10 hours a day. Siesta is a real thing in Spain, people. It is a real thing. Like they have the window darkening blinds on the outside, and they shut down for 2 hours. And in August in France, they shut down for dag near the month, right? The whole month. Like things are just, you can just you're not going out to eat nowhere. You're not really. Like it's a whole different concept of importance, like actually feeling like you're living. So
are you doing commissions for art? Is there any way people could reach out to you to commission any pieces or anything?
Of course. You can reach me on my website, www.clarifications.com, and it's spelled Clarifications, not the proper spelling. Clarifications. So yeah, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me by my name on Facebook, and I'm artist ClaraKhay on Instagram.
That's awesome.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, and thank you again for your time. This has been Josh and Steve from Musicians and Makers podcast, sitting down with ClaraKhay Johnson. And you can find us on Instagram, Spotify, Facebook, our website, YouTube, any media out there, so we can bring these artists to you. And thank you again, Clara, for your time.
Thank you both. I really enjoyed speaking with you.